Hey all, thanks so much for being a part of Penn State Athletes Take Action this year. We're really excited to kick off our lessons in the schools, and since we know that you're very busy and it's hard sometimes to get together to practice and to learn the lessons, hoping that this quick slideshow can help you out a little bit to figure out what it is you're teaching, what you're going to be doing, and some of the basics. So let's get to it. This is your Lesson 1 review. First of all, I just want to introduce myself. I'm the one on the left, Ruth Williamson. I'm a violence prevention educator at the Centre County Women's Resource Center. The Women's Resource Center has been here in Centre County for the last 40 years, and our mission is to empower survivors of domestic and sexual violence and to work together towards the elimination of that violence. Myself and my team, including Lindsay Fawcett, who you see there on the right, we work really hard out in the community to help raise awareness and also work on skills that we can all use to help prevent violence in our community. You'll see some of us maybe on WTAJ talking about the actual casualties and violence in our own community here. You'll see some of us working within systems. This is one of our team members with the commissioners of Centre County working within the legal system to help promote the process of helping survivors as they move through after being affected by violence. You'll see us in schools, of course. You'll also see us maybe at the hub talking about the resources that the center provides. Not only do we have a domestic violence shelter, but we also provide resources for college students or for anyone who may need safe, free, and professional counseling if you've ever experienced anything. So don't ever hesitate to send someone our way. We have a 24-hour hotline, and we're also available as an off-campus resource. And then, of course, you'll see us doing this, but mostly you'll see us doing this. We and I and my whole team, anyone that you just saw there, we will be working behind the scenes to help support you, the members of PSATA, as you work to help prevent violence here in our own community, especially in our middle schools. And what are you helping to prevent? You're helping to prevent bullying. And so our key equation, the key equation for PSATA, our key equation in the work that we do in violence prevention, it's this: awareness plus action equals change. This is so important. It's the key equation, like I said, for violence prevention work. Here's the deal. Bullying is youth violence. And violence, as Martin Luther King said, is anything that denies human integrity and leads to helplessness and hopelessness. We need to learn about what violence is, awareness, and we also need to learn about the skills and the actions that we can take to help prevent it. You can't just talk about it, you also have to practice it. So for any kind of change to happen, we have to have both awareness and action. So not only can we respond to youth violence and the reality of bullying, but we can prevent it in individual relationships and communities. We need both sides of this equation to make it happen. So we need to increase our awareness about the dangers and the impact of bullying, and we need to take action to practice skills to prevent it. That's what you all are doing, both sides of that equation, every day when you're with students. Big questions that we're helping to ask together. What do we know? What do we know about bullying? What can we do? How can we prevent it? How can we get ahead of the patterns before they really start to take root? And then how can we do it together to inspire and create change? Our actions inspire the actions of others. And you all, as athletes and as role models to these young people that you'll be with, you will inevitably, by helping to raise their awareness, by acting with them, you are and you will help to create change and to help decrease youth violence. So let's take a look. Let's raise our awareness a little bit. You all will be talking about bullying. So actually, believe it or not, in 2014, the CDC helped to universalize a definition of bullying so that we could all use it and talk about it and try to get ahead of it. The CDC also considers bullying to be a public health concern. It affects us as people and as a society, and we need to start talking about it more. So here's what it is. Here are the keys. Bullying is unwanted, aggressive behavior by a youth or a group of youth involving a perceived power imbalance and is repeated multiple times or likely to be repeated. The keys of bullying: it's unwanted. Someone doesn't want it to happen. It's aggressive. It's hurting someone. Words, actions, all of that, it counts. There's a power imbalance. Bullying necessarily isn't teasing, but one person who is doing the bullying behavior, they're using their power, whether it's physical, social, whatever it is, to power over another person and to put them down. And here's the deal. Bullying, it's repeated. There's an intention. It happens on purpose. You're hurting someone on purpose, and then it starts to happen more and more. Bullying is a behavior, not an identity. So we can look for 4 different types of behaviors, 4 different ways that bullying happens in our schools. All right, so we talked about what it is. Let's talk about what it looks like. There are 4 types of bullying, and you'll probably talk about these in either direct or indirect ways with your students. Here they are. They're physical, verbal, social, also known as relational bullying, and cyberbullying. Here's the key question though. Stick with me. What do you think? What are the most common types of bullying in middle school? This is a really important question for us. What do you think? I'll give you a second to think about it. The most common types of bullying in middle school are actually verbal and social. Now, I don't know about you, but I was a little bit surprised to see that. The CDC reported that both statistically and within reports from youth themselves. The Youth Violence Project, for example, they reported these 2 things. I thought it would be cyber. Well, here's the deal. Verbal and social, they happen both online and in person. And for 6th graders, the cohort that you're going to be working with, that is such a huge time for them developmentally. They are starting right now to begin to identify themselves based now on the relationships around them. Who am I? What is everyone else doing? What are they thinking? And how does that affect me? So verbal and social bullying now becomes a really big deal because kids are starting to identify themselves and define and believe who they are in this time frame. So we got to talk about verbal and social bullying, not just because it's happening most prevalently, but because it creates a really big problem, both as it's happening, but also in the future. So think about it. Verbal and social bullying. Verbal bullying is saying or writing mean things. Things like teasing, name-calling, inappropriate sexual comments, taunting, threatening to cause harm, making fun of someone's looks or body type, race, how much money their family makes, their sexual orientation, their ability, their intelligence. You know that the list goes on and on. Social bullying, this is what it is. It's called relational bullying as well, and it involves hurting someone's reputation or relationships. It can be things like leaving someone out on purpose, or telling other kids not to be friends with someone, spreading rumors about someone, and also embarrassing someone in public. So here's what we need to know. We know what bullying is now. We know the 4 types and the 2 most prevalent types in middle school. We also need to think about the impact. What's the big deal? Why talk about bullying? Why sit with your 6th graders and help them understand that their actions and their words matter and create an impact? Well, bullying has a big impact that we see. The CDC reports, the Center for Disease Control reports, 160,000 kids miss school every day because of bullying-related things. Depression, anxiety, sleep difficulties, substance abuse, self-harm, eating disorders, ADHD, those are all much more prevalent for those who have experienced bullying. Not just those who have had the bullying happen to them, but also those who have perpetrated the bullying and who have witnessed it. And what do we know? We know in our work that we do that there's been evidence that has shown that there are continued patterns of violence later in adolescence and adulthood when those individuals were part of bullying, either as those having it happen or doing it. Last thing, bullying victims are 2 times more likely to consider suicide. This is a big deal. But I want to share this with you all. Some of you on Monday night may actually be going to see Joey talk. Why do we talk about bullying? Why do we talk about the impact? And why do we talk about how we can all work together to get ahead of it and make sure that it doesn't happen? Because it's real, and it affects real people, and no one is immune from what bullying can do. This is what Joey Julius said. He said, "My weight was always the #1 target for bullies. I just always felt crappy about myself. I had low self-esteem, just kind of thought I was a loser." Big Ten champ Joey Julius, who bravely shared of his struggles with an eating disorder, he experienced bullying because of his body type as a male in our society. Bullying leaves a deep mark, a deep mark. So that's what we're here to talk about. So let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to the key equation for prevention. Remember, awareness plus action equals change. So we're going to raise our awareness about the impact of bullying, and we're going to learn about how to change our actions and most especially our speech, knowing that verbal and social bullying is huge. So our objective then, what we'll be doing in lesson 1, students will learn about the impact of words and practice being supportive. Let's take a look just briefly at the lesson itself. Each one of you will get a lesson plan with the different things that you'll do for each section. So here's the key. In the lesson plan, you'll have 40 minutes to work with your students. And there are 4 different sections for this lesson. The first section, when you get in, you'll be with the kids in a circle up. You'll talk about who you are, you'll learn about who they are, and you'll help to set the community and the stage. You'll talk about some agreements and some things that you can all agree to together to make sure that you can create a brave space and work together to talk about hard things. After you do the circle up, you'll transition to the large group activity. This is where you and your teaching partner will do an exercise called Wrinkled Robin. Basically, you'll be learning about the impact of put downs, or the things that the negative words we do and say, how that can affect others. After the large group, you'll transition to a small group activity. You'll explain the exercise itself, you'll split everyone into groups and have them think about affirmations and the impact of how positive words can really put others up instead of tearing them down. Last section, final section, is a closing huddle. You all as athletes, you can do this way better than I. You know how to do huddles, you know how to bring it in to send it home. And so for the closing huddle, you'll get together and you'll practice a fun little activity that has to do with affirming one another. And then you'll hands in and you'll send the kids into their day with a bit of a pep talk, ready to go for the next lesson. So let's talk about it. Let's break it down, all 4 sections. First section, the circle up. Remember, keep an eye on the time here. Bottom line, at the end of the day, everyone will have a lesson plan in their hands. If it bombs, if it's not going well, if it feels like you're kind of imprisoned by it, ditch it. The key to anything and everything that you do as PSATA athletes is to tell your story, is to build relationships, is to be supportive, and basically to be a role model, a person who can model respective, supportive behavior. You all are giving an immense chunk of your time to help talk with kids about the realities of bullying. So if all else fails, ditch the script, be a person with other little humans, and have some fun. All in all, for the Circle Up, one thing that you'll see is the schools are a little bit different. Each school has a little bit of a different flavor. Mount Nittany and Park Forest is where you'll be headed. Park Forest will be on Tuesday. Now, the hope is that students, when you enter, will be in a circle ready for you. But that's not always what happens, especially if there's a sub or if it just doesn't work well for that classroom specifically. So, especially at Park Forest, you'll see there on the right, oftentimes they'll be at their own tables or their own desks. That's okay. If you want to get them up and can find a space to be in a circle, awesome. Otherwise, just work with what you have. At Mount Nittany, you'll walk into the classrooms, and every classroom will already be in a circle. They use circles a lot in their schools. So you'll see either the circle flow, or you'll just have to roll with it when you get in there. So when you're circling up, you're basically just doing intros. Intros and team building. The cool thing is that you'll be with these kids throughout the whole rest of the year. And these students will be together for the next 8 or so years of their lives. So everything that we're doing is team building. It's getting to know you, it's getting to know each other, and it's getting to set some norms and some standards for who we want to be and who we are together. So you, of course, will start with your intros. Your name, your sport, and why you're a part of PSATA. Pretty simple. Then, when you're in your circle, you do a quick icebreaker with the kids. Each one of you will have a talking piece, aka you'll have like a koosh ball or a little ball that you can throw around. So the icebreaker, it's pretty simple. It's a toss and catch. Everybody's going to get a chance to talk. So you can start as the athlete. You have the ball in your hand, and you simply share your name and one word that describes you. And then you toss it to someone else in the circle, gently of course. Make sure that you model how a toss is supposed to go. And the next person will do the same. They'll say their name and one word that describes them. A positive word, of course. Alright, so once you get to know each other, learn each other's names, have a little bit of fun, then you'll go over the agreements. The agreements might sound kind of goofy, and it might sound like, I don't know, you don't want to go over this, but they're actually really important. The agreements help to set the stage and to help create a culture that you all will be able to work together within. Now, the agreements, it isn't so much about creating a safe space. It's actually more about creating a brave space. A brave space where all of the kids you're with and where you, as a new person in their classroom, you can talk about hard things. You can know that you may be sitting across from someone in the circle who is a person that you've teased before, or is a person who maybe is bullying you right now. But it's a place where we can be honest, where we can be open, and where we can support each other too. And so if things start to move away from being supportive, the agreements is something that you can return to and say, hey guys, remember, we agreed that we're one team. We support each other. Let's not do that anymore. Let's turn it around. Let's respect. So don't be afraid to refer to the agreements if you ever need to as things are happening. So what are they? The agreements, everything that you all can agree on. We are one team. We support each other. That makes sense. You all, especially as Penn State athletes, you know that the one team model is really, really important. Break it down for the kids if you want. Explain to them why that's important and what it means. Respect is the next one. We want to give it. We expect it. We don't always have to agree. We don't always have to have the same views and opinions, but we do have to treat each other with consideration and care. Next agreement is listen. This is important because we're listening to understand, not to respond. We want to listen without interrupting. If we're interrupting and if we're constantly thinking about the next thing that we're going to say, we're not actually with the person who's either sharing their story or maybe saying something funny that we could laugh at too. The next one is use put-ups, not put-downs. Pretty self-explanatory. Next one, I statements. We want to talk about ourselves and our own experiences, not the experiences of others. We can share maybe about something that's happened to us or for us or that we have experienced, but we're not giving advice either. This one's important because kids will often talk about their stories. Someone was mean to them, this happened, they were such a jerk, why did they do this? Start to get into the judgment realm. And this is where I statements can be important. I felt hurt. I experienced this. Making sure that we stay in that space. Next agreement is wholehearted. Bottom line, we're going to be here, we're going to be real, be honest, be courageous, and be kind. Bringing our whole heart to the space. Next one mic. One person talks at a time. Just keep that in mind. We need everyone to have the space that they need to say what they're trying to say. The next one is take care of yourself. This is important because we're not talking about flowers and puppy dogs. We're talking about bullying. It's not always an easy topic. It can be hard. So if something is hard for a young person, encourage them to take a break, to go talk to their teacher, or if they need to, maybe, if they have some different coping mechanisms that they're already using, encourage them to do that. Next thing is always aspiring. This is something that you and everyone can agree to about, this is such an important word, always aspiring. You're always learning, you're always growing, you're always getting there. It's okay to take risks, to make mistakes, and to do it together. We're always aspiring to be allies, to be the best selves that we can be, and to be the best supports that we can be for each other too. The last one is roar. This one's important because this one in the State College Area School District middle schools, this is their bottom line agreements, what they aspire to do every day. ROAR stands for responsibility, organization, attitude, and respect. When in doubt, roar. And so if you can have all the kids get that together, get that and agree upon it, one really fun thing that you can do so that the agreements don't sound so boring, as you go through them and explain them, interact with the kids. What do you think this means? Why might this agreement be important? Why would doing this be helpful for us as a learning community here? As you're interacting with them and you agree on one of them. So for example, for the first one, we are one team, we support each other. One really fun way after each agreement or at the end is to have every person in the circle basically do an air sign. You autograph and you, like signing a contract, that you can agree to do that particular thing, or at least practice it while you're in this space. So to have that autograph happen or to have that sign happen, couple things. Kids love to autograph things with their foot. So what does that mean? Bottom line, even if you're sitting, you're standing, basically have people think about, imagine that they're signing their name in the sand with their foot. So you just basically sign your name out after each one with your foot. If that doesn't work, maybe you can encourage kids to air sign or to sign on the ground in front of them. You can do that for each of the agreements. It's kind of fun, it's kind of goofy, there's a little bit of movement, and it's a great way to keep things rolling. The other thing, bottom line, an important teaching tip for anything that happens, whether in the circle up or beyond, use the kids' names. They'll all have name tags on, and it makes a really big difference if you learn their name, if you say their name, and they really respond well to that. So definitely do your best to use their names. No pressure. There are 1 or 2 of you and 24 to 26 of them. Do your best, and I know that whatever happens, you'll make a positive impact. All right, so let's move on. After you do the circle group, you move to the large group activity. Remember, 10 minutes for this one on the clock. This one is called Wrinkled Robin. This one has always been a fun activity for athletes and students alike in the past. You've probably heard some of your fellow athletes talk about this one. For whatever reason, it seems to be It makes sense because it's an object lesson. So what you're doing, basically in this activity, you're going to think about the impact that our words can have on other people, both good and bad. Specifically for this one, we're going to focus in on the negative things. So you'll take a large piece of paper that we'll all provide for you, and it'll have an outline of a person on it. And once you have it, you're going to work together with the students to fill it in with unkind, rude, and all kinds of disrespectful statements or behaviors. And you're going to fill those in all over the body. Kind of like this here, you'll see. You'll ask kids to share things, make like examples of bullying, maybe that they've observed or that they've heard, maybe in their school or things on social media or they've heard on TV. What does bullying sound like? What has it sounded like for you? You can write things up. They might give you some ideas like, you're a loser, or no one likes you, you're dumb, fat, scared, ugly, all those sorts of things. Now remember, this isn't a diss section. This isn't about using disses and saying disses. The kids and you're almost like reporters. You've heard these things, and now you're reporting and recording them so that we can all see them. So after the large group has filled Robin with all of this negative stuff, have one of the athletes, one of you all, or maybe both of you, what you want to do is crumple the whole sheet up, like really, really crumple it up. You can totally be all kinds of dramatic with this if you want. Crumple it up. Don't be violent. Don't like stomp on it and jump on it. But give the kids a chance to crumple. Whatever works for you. And what you do is you'll uncrumple the person, and you'll hang it up or hold it up, and you want to ask the class if anyone can get the wrinkles out. And if a rhetorical question is more apt at this point, go ahead and do that. Maybe one of you all can try to smooth it out and try to see if you can get the paper to get back to looking like what it looked like when it started. Here's the deal. The point, right? What's the point? Well, with the wrinkled person in front of you, you want to explain, bottom line, just like you see Lainey here holding it up, you want to explain to the class that this paper, this object lesson, it's an example of what bullying can do to a real person. Even after the negative comments are said, the wrinkles or the memories that remain, they can't be erased. This is what negative comments have the power to do. This is what bullying does to real people. Mean and cruel words are never just a joke. They really hurt. Words make an impact. They leave a mark. So it's important that we all raise our awareness of our own words and our own actions and intentions and practice a different way. So that will move you all then to the next group activity in this section. These go really fast, they really do. So the next section, you've talked about how negative words create an impact. Now we want to think about the opposite. Negative words make an impact and leave a mark, but so do positive words. So we can practice a different way. So what you want to do is, you want to divide your students into groups of 4 or 5. You can count off, do whatever works best for you. And each person is going to get a very small robin. And what they're going to do is, they're going to take some time in small groups to work together to write positive comments in the outline. Things that they have observed or heard. Remember, if it's helpful, they're reporters. What have they heard? What does it sound like to be supportive or affirming or encouraging? What are words that they have heard in their life that have helped them know that they're supported? Write all those down here. Things like, great job, I like you, you're a really great friend. Maybe there's an encouraging quote that someone has memorized. So encourage them to fill it in and work together. And you'll notice, actually, this is really kind of interesting. The kids, even though they'll be hesitant at first to say the negative things, they're really good at it. They can snap it out really fast. They can come up with all kinds of things. for the affirmation part, it actually takes them a little bit longer. It's a little bit harder for them to think about things, which is an important thing to think about. We need to practice affirming people, because in our world, oftentimes it's the negative that always gets said first. So once everyone's done, you want to have the groups, you can figure out how you want to do this best with your kids. If they're really into it, you might want to offer each group the opportunity to introduce their person and read some of the supportive comments that they put on there, a lot of the put-ups that are on there. Once you do it, you can also hold those robins up against the bigger wrinkled robin. Take some time to just bring it all together. Once you compare and contrast, you can talk about what you see, what it was like, and ask the students, what's the difference between the bullied people and the non-bullied people? What did it feel like coming up with negative things to say, or the positive things? What was this like for you? And bottom line, the summary of all of this, however you get there, is wrinkles made by negative words and cruel actions, they never go away. But the same is true for positive things too. Supportive words can create an impact and leave an important mark. And let's remember that. We can use our words and our actions to tear people down and bully them, or we can use our words and our actions to build others up and to make a difference. Words can hurt. Words can also inspire and change the world. Remember, you all are a team, and it's important that everyone supports each other. Bring it all home then, at the end. One thing I do want to talk about for the small group exercise, some teaching tips that have been acquired along the way. Other athletes have used these, teachers have said they've really been helpful in their classrooms. Couple things. For the small group activity, when you break them up into the put-up section, when they're talking about affirmations, make sure that you explain the instructions first, before anyone moves to groups. Here's the thing, here's what you're going to do, pause. Once everybody starts moving, it gets chaotic and it's hard for people to know what's going on. So try to explain things first and then have them move. If you count the kids off by 4s or 5s, this is a trick I learned from a teacher. You want to encourage your students not only to say their number out loud as you're counting them off, but you also want them to show that number on their hands. That helps each other, them hold each other accountable, and that helps you see as well, making sure that people are going where they're supposed to go and not just a whole group of friends kind of taking it over and being with themselves. Another thing, you want to assign a clear group meeting location. Bottom line, all right, group 1 is over in this corner, group 2 over here. Try it out if it makes sense in your classroom. Sometimes it can help to alleviate chaos and to make sure it also keeps time pretty tight. When you're in the activity, once kids are starting to brainstorm, make sure that you're giving them time warnings. You'll of course have your eye on the clock as you get closer and closer to 9. You might want to make sure that you're telling them, okay, we have 2 more minutes for this activity. 1 more minute and then we're going to talk about it. Just letting them know so that they can finish up and also stay focused. And of course, you know this, interact with the groups. Walk around as they are discussing. Hear what they're saying so that you can maybe use that as a teaching tool later, something you could go back to. And bottom line, sometimes the kids will be kids. They'll be loud, they'll be kind of crazy, and especially as they're doing group work, you'll need some strategies to help refocus everyone, bring them back together. So one really corny thing, but also really effective thing is called, if you can hear me, clap once. Bottom line, you will say, if you can hear me, clap once. And then in theory, anybody who can hear you will clap. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. Eventually, you'll see it's actually kind of magical. Everyone will be focused, and they'll be quiet, and they'll be ready to hear you and the next thing you want to say. When in doubt, you can also use a power clap. This is something kind of cool you can teach to your kids maybe at the very beginning of the lesson, and then you can utilize throughout. A power clap, you can use any kind of rhythm that you want. So you teach the kids the power clap. Maybe it's 4 claps. they'll repeat that back to you. Anytime they hear that, they need to repeat it back to you. So as they do that, that'll help focus everybody back. There will be some silence. You can move people to the next. All right, so let's bring it home then. In theory, you'll have about 10 minutes left. If not, that's okay. You do what you can with what you have. We're gonna bring it all in for the closing huddle. Encourage kids as they're finishing up the small groups after they've shared. Bring a pencil or a marker or a writing utensil back to the circle with them, and you'll have a piece of paper or a stack of paper ready for each person. So bring your pencil, grab a piece of paper, and head back to the circle with me. Let's bring it home. Once everyone's in the circle, here's what you want to do. After they've picked their paper up, the instructions are this. You're going to do a very fun, a very short and quick snowball affirmation. Basically, you're going to ask students to write on their piece of paper a word or a phrase of encouragement and support. And this is something that a classmate or a teacher could read or hang up and keep. So on the sheet of paper, each person will write an affirmation, as if writing, like I said, to someone in their class. After they're done writing, and if they can't think of anything, maybe help them think about what's been something helpful that you've heard that's been supportive, that maybe you could share with someone else, some words of support to others. Once they write that down and they're finished, tell everyone then to crumple up their piece of paper. Crumple it up real good, and then, crumple it up and toss it into the center. Now make sure that they're tossing it into the center of the circle and not at each other. But you gently want to toss it into the center once you're done. And you'll see, as all of them are in there, there are going to be 30 balls of paper kind of crumpled up together. Feel free to give them an example toss, and also you can kind of put them all together so they're kind of in a pile and not all over the place. But once you write your affirmation, crumple and toss, then you can have everyone go in and pick up a new piece of paper, a different piece of paper, head back to their seat, and at that point, everyone will have a chance to share the affirmation or the support that they have. And it's kind of a cool way for kids to not only say things out loud, but also to have what you wrote heard as well. It helps to emphasize and re-emphasize and help to create different neural pathways and all kinds of funky stuff that you guys don't need to know. So you're going to write, crumple, toss, pick, and share. Share those affirmations. Encourage them to keep them in their desks. Encourage them to keep them until the next lesson. Think about ways that they can help build each other up with their words and their actions. Get them all excited. Help them remember who and whose they are. And bottom line, you can end with the ever popular team huddle closing. So, all right, everybody, hands in. Encourage everybody to get their hands in, and remember the point of the lesson. Awareness plus action equals change. Impact, speak. Those are the key words. Remember, hands in, everybody. Our words and our actions matter because we matter. We are one team. We support each other. And then, of course, you could always do a roar on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you all for listening to me blabber on about the lesson. Remember, when in doubt, it's 4 parts. Circle up, large group, small group, bring it home with the closing huddle. Here are some tips to share with you about the schools themselves. The class runs from 8:20 to 9. There's your 40 minutes. You'll enter right after the students are done hearing their morning announcements. So they'll be ready for you. They'll be in their Penn State gear. They're going to be excited. They're going to be in their circles or ready for you to come in. So bring a lot of energy and enthusiasm. I know that it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and many of you have just finished lifts or whatever else. But don't be afraid to have fun. Don't be afraid to be yourself. And another thing too, they may not move or say or speak right away. We've watched this happen, and the teachers have watched this happen. They are so enamored by who you are and what you bring. Don't be afraid if they're silent and quiet. They're watching your every move, and they are hearing you and listening to you. So, be yourself. You're awesome. At Park Forest, we're going to meet in the cafeteria at 8 a.m. At Mount Nittany, we're going to meet in the auditorium. Just a heads up, morning traffic is usually pretty slow, so leave some extra time. Some tips that we've learned in the past: at Park Forest, sometimes parking can be a little bit tricky. All the buses are going to be moving in and out. There is a teacher's lot that's actually behind the school, where you can find a place there if you can't find a spot in the main parking lot. You go up and you'll turn onto School Drive, and that parking lot is actually across from the elementary school. You'll see it on the map, and those of you who are veterans, I'm sure you could help people out, but just keep that in mind too. If you can't find parking, you can go up into the teacher's lot. And then at Mount Nittany, one other thing too, they're going to have, you'll see them, they call them their Lion Leaders. These are leaders in the 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade community who are always set apart to help greet you when you come at the entrance. So be ready for them, give them high fives. Yeah, and just have fun with it. We'll go over the lesson quickly. We'll make sure that everyone has a copy of the lesson plan. All of the materials will be in the classroom for you, so you don't have to worry about carrying anything, bringing anything. All you have to do is show up, be yourself. There are about 24 to 26 kids in every classroom. The teacher will be in there with you. And they are aware that it is their role to discipline. It is their role to make sure that kids are staying in line. You're there as a mentor. You're not there as a teacher. So invite the teachers to be a part of the activities with you and have some fun. Make sure that the day of, the day after, don't hesitate to share on social media. We have some of the some tags and different things there. Center County Women's Resource Center, then those are the two for the schools. Don't forget, to share, let people know that you're taking action to help local middle schools prevent bullying. Check out our page, Center County Women's Resource Center, for highlights after the lessons. If you are going to post something, just make sure that you don't show any faces of kids if possible. There's some different legalities with that. Otherwise, tweet away, post away, whatever you do on social media, do it and make it awesome, and share and let everybody know the awesome things that you're doing as Penn State athletes on and off of the court or wherever it is that you're working to be your best selves. So thank you all for being a part of Penn State Athletes Take Action. Thank you for checking out this lesson review. Hopefully something in it is helpful, a tip or a trick or two. My team will be there. I will for sure be there next Tuesday and Wednesday. Don't hesitate to invite a teammate to come with you. Invite others. Clearances, let me make a reminder, they do not have to be turned in to me till the very end of PSATA. So please do not let that be a deterrent for you to participate or to be at lessons. Whenever you can hand it in to me, hand it in to me. Show up, be awesome, and we'll make it work. Penn State Athletes Take Action, raising awareness, taking action to decrease violence in our schools, to make the world a better place. Thank you all very much. I will see you next week.